Hey everyone, welcome to today's Flash webinar, Building Personas for Better Results, Our Success Stories. Today's webinar is hosted by Hanapin Marketing, and I am your moderator, Jamie Newton. I'm the Communications Manager here at Hanapin, and your presenter is Kelly Pollock. She is a Senior Account Manager at Hanapin. If you want to follow her on Twitter, you can follow her at Kel Pollock right there on your screen. Real quick, just a housekeeping item before Kelly jumps into her presentation. If you want to join the conversation today, include the hashtag ThinkPPC in your Twitter tweets, or use the webinar question box to send us questions, which is right there on your GoToWebinar control panel. We will have a quick live Q&A after Kelly's presentation. Okay, Kelly, are you ready to do this?
I'm ready.
All right, great.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to participate in our webinar. As Jamie mentioned, today we'll be talking about building personas for better results. First, I think it's really important to define what we consider to be a persona. A persona can be as simple as adding personalities to your audience and then segmenting those individuals into buckets for marketing purposes. Marketers often start this process by brainstorming and asking questions such as, who is our audience? Are they made up of males, females, families, single hipsters, moms, and then looking at what age groups dominate traffic to our site, and finally, where do they hang out offline and online. Historically, this type of information has been gathered through conducting in-person interviews. However, all this data has become so accessible online these days that it's become easier and more common for small to medium businesses to leverage this tactic and really, at the end of the day, help tell a story about their customers. So now that we've covered what a persona is, I'm going to dive into a project that I've recently been working on where we've greatly benefited from developing personas. Just to give you a little background on this project, it's an e-commerce site that appeals to a male audience. Simply researching the site as well as other marketing collateral, including talking to the client, we were able to make a couple assumptions on this male audience that they were likely younger and possibly in college. But as data junkies, we needed a way to confirm. So my first stop for this research is always analytics, provided the client has this set up. And to start building my persona, I head over to the audience section. This section is jam-packed with great data, including age, gender, geographic locations, where the visitor is coming from, whether it be desktop or mobile, all the way down to what type of device they visited from. For this visit to analytics, we were able to confirm our suspicion that our site visitors were in fact males ranging in age from 18 to 24. And we appropriately titled our starting persona Cool Dude. So through this process, we're going to follow Cool Dude and learn a little bit more about him. So now that we had a start to our persona, we wanted to see if we could find any type of pattern with regard to geographic locations. We used the geo drop-down in analytics, still under our audience section. And this feature gives us a few different options regarding how to view the data. By default, you show up, it's set to the world, and then it drills down into countries and then shows data by state. At first glance, geographically, our site visitors really appeared to have no clear pattern. Our high volume by state showed Texas, California, New York, Colorado, so we were really all over the place. I then switched up our view to look at the primary dimension feature to segment the data a little more, and I was able to determine by looking at regions that our high traffic areas tended to be Dallas, Fort Worth, LA, Denver, and Charlotte, just to name a few. One thing that was very interesting to learn about this is that our client communicated to us in the kickoff call that their audience was mostly made up of the Southeast. And we were able to take this data and go back to the client and educate them that their main audience spanned a much larger geographical area. So now we have an 18 to 24-year-old city dwelling dude. Our next stop is really to determine what his interests are. Our client shared with us that they believed their audience to be in college and oftentimes connected with student societies such as fraternities and sororities. Again, going back to being a data junkie, we want to see if we can confirm this assumption by using our analytical data. So remaining in the audience section in analytics, we can expand upon the interests and determine that our cool dude is in fact pretty cool. Through the affinity category, we can see that site visitors like TV, they like movies, they're oftentimes techies, they stay up to date on current events and sports. And just to note, the affinity targeting really analyzes someone's overall interests and passions and lifestyle to get a better sense of their overall identity. The next area that we look at drills down a little bit more into in-market interests. And in-market audiences are typically composed of folks who are actively searching and comparing your products and services. So again, these go a little bit deeper. From this view, we're able to confirm a few of our clients' thoughts on their audiences. Our top segment here, as you can see, is education and post-secondary education, meaning that our cool dude is in college, and apparently he also likes apparel and accessories, which makes sense since our retailer is selling clothing. And our final stop in the interest category is the other category. All of the categories take into account a user's search history, social activity, content consumption patterns, among other signals. However, some of this data doesn't fit into the tidy buckets of affinity and in-market segmentation. But be sure that this data is just as important as the rest. Oftentimes the other category gets sort of ignored because of the title. And this is a bucket where we can actually find and confirm that our client, a good portion of the cool dudes, are in fact involved in fraternities. And they're watching a lot of videos online, which might come in handy when making some recommendations down the line on engines to target. That's getting a little ahead of ourselves at this point, but we aren't making any recommendations quite yet. We still have one more very valuable tool that we haven't looked at yet. Nowadays, as the common searcher becomes more social on the internet, we're able to get super accurate data for targeting. For this particular client, they have a great following on Facebook. They have close to 100,000 likes. And we're able to leverage the audience insight tool to further build out these personas. What's great about this tool is, as useful as it is for established marketers or companies just starting out, newbies that may not have a large following are also able to use this. Facebook gives you the ability to search other pages. So you can find a page that closely matches your product, or take advantage of competitor data to really get yourself started. Social offers another level of personal data too. We're so quick to throw out there if we're in a relationship or not. And in fact, we were able to tell that our cool dude is typically single and in a relationship, or possibly in a relationship, but definitely not married. So the data that we're finding here is certainly backing up what we're finding through analytics as well. In one of our affinity, or I think it was at the in-market category, it showed that one of our cool dudes' interests were dating sites. So again, that might be a great place to start building your list for areas to target. Another really cool insight that's offered by our social engines is the ability to see where our audience is hanging out. Still in the Facebook audience insights, we can head over to our page likes tab, and this is where we can really get insight into by categories actually where our audiences are hanging out. And we can use this data to recommend interest to target within custom audiences. A good portion of my cool dudes like Miller Lite. So I should create an audience here of males 18 to 24 who are in college and like beer. As you can see, our funnel is getting pretty tight. It's gonna definitely get us some great targeting. And then finally, heading back to the demographics tab within Facebook, they offer a pretty cool and quick persona feature that many marketers are using these days. It's based on data from Personix, and it uses U.S. demographic and interest data, typically based on purchase behavior, brand affinities, and some other activities. And from this view here, we can see that the largest portion of our Facebook connections are categorized as Summit Estate families. And if you can read the small black box there, you can see that it categorizes them as individuals that luxury, travel, entertainment, and consumption of goods comes with ease. And I think, again, this is great news for our client because they're selling clothing and accessories that tend to be on the higher end of the cost scale. And there's really so much more data that can be found within both analytics and our social channels. I highly encourage everyone to jump back in and start to use this data to not only build one persona, but several buckets. You can basically pull reports like the one I've featured here above from Google Analytics that really breaks down our highest converting personalities. A next step here for you guys as you venture out might be to identify the highest converting interest categories. You might find that your techies, your music lovers, your TV lovers, news junkies, gamers, shutterbugs collectively represent the users who bring in the most revenue. So then you're going to be looking at 18 to 24-year-old men with these interests, and users, these are going to be the users that you want to focus on. And that brings us to our next topic, which is how do I take this data and market to my new personas? For this client in particular, we learned that he was in college, and while he might be categorized as having a lavish lifestyle, this was likely in part still due to the parental guidances. This audience may have 20 bucks to drop on a new t-shirt, but he also has the time, the resources, and the sense to make sure he can't get it anywhere else cheaper. So this was the thought process that we used to back up recommending going into Google Shopping. And just to show you guys some successes that we had, as a result, we've been able to gain the results that we've been able to gain through over the last few months have been great. In addition to reporting a 314% return on ad spend, shopping's been relatively inexpensive in terms of our cost per click, and it's really helping us to get our brand out there with a high volume of impressions. This isn't a really well-known brand. It's one that's kind of starting out, and even just the 326 some thousand brand impressions are considered a success within this space. And so next, as I mentioned, this client is fairly budget conscious. They have money to spend, but they don't want to blow it all on branding. They have pretty tight returns that they're looking to meet. Therefore, we decided to run a remarketing campaign within the display network. And the reason I'm showing you this view is to reiterate some of our findings that we stumbled upon when creating our personas. Some of our most successful placements are on sites that reflect the interests of our audience. YouTube, barstools.com, CNN, and weather.com, to name a few. And we've seen great success through the display network in our remarketing campaigns as well. Again, we're getting great brand impressions, 357 some thousand views, and a really low cost per click at 62 cents, and a cost per view through conversion at 99 cents. And you could view through conversions if you're not using them for your display campaigns for measurement. It's definitely something you're going to want to check out. A lot of times we'll find that these campaigns just aren't converting on a click basis like a typical uh, paid search campaign, but you'll notice that people are actually coming back to the site after seeing your ad several times and following through with their conversions. And the last successful recommendation that I want to highlight within our time allotted really circles back to leveraging social insights to create custom audiences. Two of our most successful ventures for this particular client were quick social promotions. One was for a Cinco de Mayo promotion, and the other revolved around golf and the Masters Sunday. And as I mentioned before, we were really able to hone in on a custom audience that had very specific interests in our products. For these promotions, we were giving away beer koozies and branded golf tees with every purchase. Our audiences that we were targeting through the Audience Insight tool were 21 to 24-year-old males in college who like beer and or golf or the Masters for their respective promotions. And what we found here, as you can see, is that, again, we're really focused on reach and return on ad spend and inexpensive cost per clicks for these guys. Our beer promotion reached, 18,000 people within 24 hours. Our cost per click was, well under 50 cents at 27 cents. And we had a 450% return on ad spend, which is great. Our golf promotion actually had a larger reach. It was 41,000 people. The cost per click was a tiny bit more expensive at 31 cents, but we were still able to pull out a $315 return on ad spend. So this is all really great data, and those three successes really conclude what we've been able to share on building personas for better results. But there are so many tools at our fingertips these days for small and medium businesses. I highly encourage everybody to get out there, explore, test, see what sticks. As always, there are additional resources. Feel free to visit the PPC Hero or Hanapin blogs. There are several articles that expand on the tools that I've mentioned today, and they'll really help you navigate through your own social analytics and accounts to start building your own buckets. So at this point, I'm going to hand it back over to Jamie.
Thanks, Kelly. Great presentation. And you are so right. There are so many tools out there, and social insights are getting better and better all the time. I mean, you think about, Instagram has gotten better, Pinterest is getting better, Facebook, Twitter, their analytics are getting better. So, and it's only going to get better with time. So use those tools, you guys. Before we get into the live Q&A part, first go ahead and put your questions in there. We're going to do just a real quick offer. Let me launch this. So here at Hanapin, we do these things that we like to call account analysis, and it's for anybody that spends 15K plus a month. So just to give you a little bit more information about what this is, using read-only access, we'll put together a cursory analysis of your current campaign methods and performance. It only takes about 2 to 3 business days to get a second set of eyes on your account and see if you are performing up to industry standards. So like I said, this is for accounts that are spending 15K plus a month. So if you are interested in that, go ahead and fill out that very first item there, or click no thanks. That's totally fine too. Okay, cool. So let's get into live Q&A. Here is just one general question. We are going to be sending out the recording and the slides to everybody that registered, whether or not you have attended the webinar today. So you will get an email from Hanapin tomorrow with both the recording from today's webinar and the slides. So be on the lookout for that. Okay, it looks like we don't have any more questions coming in. So let's go on to that final slide, Kelly. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. If you do have questions or something you just think you thought about later, feel free to reach out to us at marketing@hanapinmarketing.com, or you can reach out to Kelly on Twitter at Pollock. So that's KELPOLLOCK. And thank you, Kelly, for a great presentation. Thanks, everybody, for joining us, and we will see you later.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.